My eyes are blind, but I can see. For a few weeks now, it has been an Ozzy meme fiesta, a meme palooza. Things got crazy. It was a little tough for a while, with all that cyber grief. Then came the Hulk Hogan memes. No, not the Hulkster. Then the Lonnie Anderson memes. Lonnie Anderson? Come on, people. When was the last time you jacked off to Lonnie Anderson? The 70s? That would put you in your 70s. So now I think the dust has settled and it's safe for me to tell a few of my Ozzy Osbourne stories because I got some good ones. Here we go. I toured with Ozzy back in 1992 on the No More Tears European tour. It was fucking crazy. I was there with my love-hate band. We were the openers. I was really excited. I'd grown up, just like you guys, listening to Black Sabbath, listening to those Blizzard of Oz records. I was looking forward to every night sharing some good old-fashioned Black Mass shit with the real Prince of Darkness himself, Damien Thorne. I was ready. But alas, there was a fly in the ointment. It seemed that my drunken aspirations were not to be. I was immediately told upon landing in Europe, given a memo actually by Ozzy's management, that it was going to be a dry tour. No booze, my son. No booze on stage, no booze backstage, no booze around Ozzy, period. For obvious reasons, I guess, because at any time Ozzy could shit up and turn back into a werewolf, which I was hoping for. We were allowed to drink on our bus, of course, so we did, con gusto. Zakk would join us, Zakk Wylde, the guitar player. He would climb on our bus right before Ozzy went on and gulp down 6 beers in rapid succession. Viking style. Wipe his mouth, and then off he would go to rock the mountain. But as the tour went on, we started to shit up, as we always did. We were like little children, you see. You can't take us anywhere. We started sneaking booze into our dressing room. It's a big no-no. Could have actually gotten us fired. So one night, we're secretly drinking in our dressing room, right before the show, when someone knocked on the dressing room door. Hey, Ozzy wants to come into your dressing room. We had this giant boom box that we traveled with, and Ozzy apparently wanted to hear some demos that he'd done on the boom box. So we hurriedly are taking drapes and curtains and throwing them over the booze table that we had. And Ozzy walks in and immediately goes right to our drink coolers. Looking for booze. I am not kidding. He was totally serious. He started dumping out the coolers looking for booze. Close call, matey. So as I said, I grew up with Black Sabbath, obviously, everyone did. So it was with particular relish and dark fiendish glee that I looked forward to this tour. I was up for anything, man. I'd heard all the stories, the snorting of the ants, the shitting in people's shoes, the shitting in people's coffee cups. Yeah, I'm in. So imagine my dismay when I found out, apparently, Ozzy was now sober. Oh, I was to tour with a sober Ozzy. Wait a minute. I don't want that guy, the sober guy. I want the other guy. I want the f***ed up crazy guy. I walked past Ozzy's dressing room on the very first day of the tour, and there he was riding an exercise bicycle. A fucking bicycle. Hello, matey. Can you imagine? This was my first take of this whole thing. My first thought was, this. The next day, I walked by Ozzy's dressing room, and there he was on the floor doing sit-ups. This really enraged me. Actually, I can't explain it. It just seemed sacrilegious. All right, so let me get this straight. There's to be no fucking black masses, no ants will be snorted, no bats' heads will be bitten off. It was like the rock gods were fucking with me. So of course, this only made me want to drink more, which I did. On the very first night of the tour, was in Sweden, and my 4 band guys were hanging out in some Swedish bar waiting for the premiere of our new video on MTV. Remember when they used to play videos You didn't have to be 16 and pregnant to be on MTV then. So Skid and I were drinking heavily, and we started to play the punching game. You know, drinking hard, you punch me in the arm, I punch you in the arm, escalation, escalation, escalation. Anyway, so I went to punch him in the arm, and I missed, and I actually punched him in the face. Knocked him out unconscious on the ground. Wow, huh. What do you know? Binge drinking, check. Fucking shit up, check. Knocking my bass player unconscious, check. And this was actually the very first day of the tour. I talked about this particular show in another episode. It was 1992 and the Berlin Wall had only recently come down. So all these East European Ozzy fans who had never gotten to see Ozzy could actually now travel to Berlin and see Ozzy in person. So they did, thousands of them. But there was this little bump in the road. You see, there was this little unknown US band that was opening up for him. Try to explain that to thousands of drunk Albanians and Bulgarians. They didn't want to hear it. They hated us. I guess, is there a stronger word than hate? I wish that there was, that I could convey to you, because that's what it was. They hated the out of us. And it wasn't just the spitting on yours truly, or the yelling, or the screaming. I mean, you could see their faces. You could see the hate written on their faces. Hate being the universal language, of course. I needed no translator. It was tough. It was the toughest 30 minutes of hatred and anger, but we soldiered on, and when we finished, Ozzy walked backstage and gave me this big hug. He goes, "You got balls of steel, mate." Then we got to watch Ozzy play, and they brought the fucking house down. Mike Inez on bass, Randy Castillo on drums, Zakk Wylde on guitar. They were a great band. All right, one time we pulled up to some place out of the way in Germany, Schlufenhofen, Schlitzengruben, I don't know, some weird name of some town. It was a smaller venue than the previous venues that we had played, and Ozzy got sort of mad about it. I mean, I didn't mind. We were just happy to be there, but he didn't dig it. It was too small. We were outside waiting for the gear to get loaded in, and Ozzy's outside with us, pointing to the venue, and he goes, "Really makes you feel like a rock star, doesn't it?" Things got out of hand. Ozzy threw a fit. We heard a lot of screaming and yelling from him and Sharon, and then it ended up that Ozzy refused to play the gig. We were on our bus getting dressed for our show when someone from Ozzy's camp knocks on the door and goes, the gig has been canceled. So we, our band, our tour bus, we had to get the out of there. There were thousands of German fans milling around all the buses chanting, "Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy." So here we are, slowly, the bus is slowly backing up out of the parking lot. And you can hear the wheels crunching under the gravel. And then the fans start, "What is going on? Where are you going?" This giant bus is trying to sneak away. And the fans started to realize what was going on, and they started to get shittier and shittier. They actually started to push the bus back and forth like an actual riot. That was followed by an actual riot, actually. The fans even followed our bus back to our hotel so they could personally berate the shit out of us. "How could you do this to us?" they said. And I'm trying to explain, blame Satan, don't blame us. There was lots of drinking on this tour. Lots of drinking. Good old-fashioned drinking. Good beer. German beer. And why not? We were young. It was the Hammer of the Gods time. Bands were on MTV. Bands were on the radio. It was 1992. And all the pageantry was still there. All that King Arthur shit. It was not destroyed by the modern technology. The streaming, the Spotify, fake AI bands singing fake AI songs. There was no internet, there was no message boards. It was just like it was in the 70s, old school. Led Zeppelin, The Who, old Aerosmith, all that shit was still there for the taking. All the darkness and the wonder and all the glory. You see, rock bands in 2025, they'll never get to experience this. To them, these will only be tales told around the campfire, like the old Greek myths, the human sacrifice and the bloody spectacles, man. In a word, it was badass. Back then on the road, I used to do Tai Chi back in the park. You know what Tai Chi is. Wherever we were in Europe or Holland or France or Germany, I would find a park near my hotel and I would do my Tai Chi, man. It was cool. I'm telling you, parks in Europe were the real deal. They're not like the US, not dangerous. People actually gave a shit about nature. I would be in the park in Germany doing my Tai Chi, and some old German guy would walk by. Some old guy on his morning walk through the park, he would stop and he'd stare at me for a second, trying to figure me out. Like, who's this long hair? Why is he here in this park? And as I watched him look at me, this old man bent over, sometimes with a cane, sometimes not, I realized that this man had probably been a German soldier in World War II. He probably fought American soldiers in 1943 or 44. So this guy was probably in his 70s, and he looked old and he moved really slow. But there was a time when this guy was a warrior, a fucking killer, a killer of men. You could still see it in his eyes. I pictured him running across the open field, bayonets blazing. He stared at me for a second, and then he slowly turned and walked away. It affected me. It made me think, this is what touring is, man, what it really is. It's life experience. You were privileged to do this, bro. Only in this job would I have seen what I've just seen and had the presence of mind to process it. Only being a touring musician could I get to see the whole of the world in all its glory. Tai Chi in the park, man. Amazing. Okay, one night on tour, we had a night off in Milan, Italy. The Ozzy band and crew, the entire touring ensemble, was invited to some swanky, expensive Italian disco. Supermodels everywhere, rich people flaunting their wealth. And there we were, the scumbags, the dirtbags, all of us in our dirty black Ozzy tour hoodies. Fish out of water for sure. But that night, we were off the leash. See, Ozzy wasn't there. Sharon wasn't there to police us. So we all proceeded to get roaring drunk. One of the Ozzy roadies grabs me. Give me your bracelet, mate. I'm looking at it. What, this one? Give it to me. I must have hesitated for a second because then he goes, I'll arm wrestle you for it. A bunch of crew guys cleared the table. They all gathered around me. It was like they all started betting on this arm wrestling championship like it was a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. So I sat down and I grabbed his hand in the middle of this disco. Someone yelled, go! And I arm wrestled this guy in the middle of the disco for this piece of shit $2 Madonna-looking bracelet. And I won. The night went on, more rowdiness, more yelling, more booze. I'm standing there talking to somebody when I heard a voice behind me say, so I hear you know karate. It was Zakk. It was Zakk Wylde. Young Zakk, big Zakk, the Zakk that lifted weights all day while on tour. Oh, I don't know, I said tentatively. I fool around with it, I guess. We should spar sometime, Zakk said confidently. We could fight for a while and then my roadies could pull me off you. Wow, sounds good. That's a great idea. Now, I don't know how it happened. Things were said, heat of the moment. I don't quite remember the actual sequence of events that led up to this, but then I remember I'm standing in front of Zakk and all of a sudden he gets up and punches me right in the chest. And I'm aware of myself flying through the air. Maybe I look graceful doing this, but actually what it really looked like was this. And I land on this giant table full of supermodels and rich Italian guys. Drinks went flying, ashtrays flying. So I got up and immediately I'm rushed by the venue security. Then they rush Zakk, who just shrugs and just goes, yeah, it's okay, we're just friends. Right. So I walk over to Zakk and I say, yep, that's right, we're just friends. And I punched him as hard as I could in the stomach. Boom, crash, bang. More shit went flying. Zakk started to get really mad. He started to break bottles on the table. Old West shit. And I'm looking around and he's freaking out. And through my alcohol haze, I realize that maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all. But see, the road is a strange place. It's a small, confined, moving mini city. It's a community. It's a tribe all its own. So in no time at all, Jizzo's sins were forgiven. There was hugs and kisses. There was more boasting. There was more booze. The fight was virtually forgotten. In fact, Zakk and I ended up dancing on the dance floor together. I was wearing his trademark cowboy hat like a fool. Anyway, just another night on the road. Old school shit. Well, it turned out that our little scuffle had made the news. We were all over the news in Italy. We were all over the news in Europe. Fist fight explodes on the Ozzy tour. My then girlfriend even called me from Los Angeles that day. She'd already heard about it. What the f***, Jizzo? What the f*** is going on over there? And such was my bravado that when she asked me about the fight, the first thing I said was, "Did they say who won?" That afternoon, Zakk was doing some live television interview with some hot blonde Italian woman, and I crashed the interview. I started screaming, "All right, dude, let's go, let's finish this." And the whole crew went running. It was good times. So there it is. There it is. There it was. A small micro view back into what it was like touring with Ozzy back in 1992. I saw Ozzy from time to time, him and Sharon, but not much. They pretty much kept Ozzy in a box until it was time for him to emerge and unleash the beast. But that's cool. That's how it's supposed to be. See, as an opener, you're not supposed to be seen. As an opening band on tour is to be not seen and not heard. Don't f*** around. Don't rock the boat. Unless, of course, you're King Jizzo and you're an idiot and you're hell-bent to f*** shit up. So did I know Ozzy? Not really. I did know Ronnie James Dio a little bit. Because he liked me. He thought I could sing, so we used to hang out a bit when we toured together. But then again, it was once in a while, and I tried to stay out of everyone's way. So now that I'm sober, I look back, and I don't really recognize that Jizzo guy from 1992. The drunk guy, the beast, the weirdo, the werewolf, the guy that thought it was a good idea to punch Zakk Wylde. But I gotta say, for his time, that guy seemed pretty cool. That old school Jizzo, he was fearless. He was bulletproof. He was ready to take on the world. In the tradition of Bon Scott, always ready for a fight. No regrets, man. Sid Vicious. I liked that guy for his time, and he was of his time. Because today, in 2025, we would call that guy an idiot. That guy would be a loose cannon. That guy would get himself fired. But that was then, this is now, 2025, Dropel Jizzo, rock and rollin', and we'll see you next time.